How you doing, guys? This is IntoCryptoSpace, and we're going to be talking about liquidity pairs and how to do it on the Cronos chain using VVS. So for this example, we're going to be pairing mouse and pasta, ticker symbol stuck, to crow. First, I'm going to explain how to do so, and then I'm going to explain the benefits and also the disbenefits of it, where you must weigh out the pros and the cons before you do anything. And then my personal strategy of how I go about it. So like I said, we're going to be using VVS Finance. So right from the trade stream, right from the dashboard, I apologize. Let's get this started. So we go to Trade Now. And instead of Trade Now, we're going to want to provide liquidity. So you just simply click into the liquidity tab right here. And then from here, all right, so first things first, flawless is for those that know exactly what they're doing. Trust me when I say this, that only professionals know how to work flawless V3 well enough. Please, even if you have a little bit more experience than I do, just stick with the standard V2. That is the best financial advice I can give you. Once you want to start playing around, being a little bit more riskier, then you can kind of go into flawless. When it comes to that, it's a matter of percentage. So you need to be within the percentage rates of what you call. And if incorrect, you can really, really lose a lot of your money here. So if you're doing this, right, stick with standard V2. And this is pretty straight up where you just simply provide the assets and you make the money back in exchange fees. And I'll tell you why this is so good and when to do it when you're bullish in a project. All right, so first, let's set up this pairing. So looking at the chart, I always try to set up a liquidity pair roughly around the bottom, right? The support zone, the trade zone, wherever it starts to consolidate, right? Because at the end of the day, even though you're setting up an LP pair, think of it as a buy-in. You want to get a good position in because at that point, the amount, not necessarily in the asset of your choice, but the native token is where you can really be able to make financial gains. It's essentially a double down opportunity. And think about it where you're providing the native token to pair with the asset of your choice. The asset of my choice here is mouse and pasta. So think about the pairing, that crow that you're going to be pairing to. Think about that as a direct buy on that chart at that position for that crow. So in this particular graph, there's an all-time high, a hard sell-off, right? A dip got eaten, and now it's been trading back and forth. And what's happening is that it's developing a wedge where eventually when it hits that breaking point, it could either skyrocket back up or go down. But this kind of consolidation phase is a great area to get in. It's very hard to pinpoint, the bottom. Best case would have been the 2.14 mil market cap region, but a couple of buys got in and then instantly eat that up. So this is the second best scenario. It's hard to time these bottoms. So just play it smart, play in at a great point, and let's get to it. So from here, looking at VVS, add liquidity, standard V2, you're going to want to make sure both assets are correct. Crow, and instead of VVS, I'm going to be going my chosen asset, right? All right. So now we have both assets that I want to stick to, that I want to pair. So you can go a couple of ways about this. Like an investment, you can do 25% of your bag, 50% of your bag, try to get in that better point, or just do the whole thing. I don't want to beat around the bush. I'm just going to stick with it and do the whole thing. So the thing you need to know with LP pairs, if it wasn't obvious in the first place, you're providing at this point, at this position of the chart, this price point, you're going to be providing the equal amount of crow, the native token, to be paired together. And what's up happening is that it strengthens the chart because now you're adding to this little region, the liquidity. And the liquidity, the higher the liquidity of a project, the more bullish, the more stable, and more validity the project has. Because now whales are going to be more invited to come back into this project or come into this project in the first place with big buys. No whale wants to come in with a 10G or even $100,000. But no whale is going to do that when as soon as they buy in, it's going to swing 50% upward. And it's doing that because the liquidity provided isn't enough to provide a stable balance for that buy. So what ends up happening is that whale that buys in, all of a sudden now there's a sell-off because it's at an all-time high, it's spiking up. People are obviously going to sell off, and now the whale has basically provided exit liquidity for a bunch of paper hands. Even though conviction is usually done by whales, people that have that money, they know what they're getting into. Still, nobody likes that. And it's the other way around. You don't want to be in a project as a holder and have a whale of that project sell off, and then because of the liquidity and how low it is, it's going to drop it 50% and then give you emotional disturbance. It just, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So doing this strengthens the project you're in. And I tend to do this on projects I believe in and projects specifically that I know is only going to go up from here, right? So moving on, I like this level. So what I'm simply going to do, I'm going to press supply. You're going to confirm. Beautiful. Going to confirm on my transaction. And we are set. So what's up happening here, right, is that it gets provided onto liquidity. You're going to have a little bump up. You should see a little bump up, nothing too crazy because it wasn't that big of a bag, but that liquidity bump up strengthens the project because you're adding to this amount. And adding to this amount means that the market cap shoots up. Also, other way around, if you take liquidity out, obviously market cap's going to decrease. So moving forward, we'll start with the pros. So what's pretty cool is that, you know how earlier I mentioned a double down, right, reference, is that when you get in, right, let's say 100 crow and 100 stuck, for example, right? If this 2x's, stuck is now 2x value, but you already had that. But what ends up happening is that at that present point when it 2x's, if you decide to unpair that liquidity, right, you will instantly double up your crow investment as well. Now, isn't that insane? Imagine if you had balls of steel, you had conviction, and you know a project that's at 1 mil is going to go up to 10 mil, right? Let's think about this. Now you doubled up your investment of that asset by pairing it with crow. Essentially a double down. You're setting up a liquidity pair early, and then it skyrockets to 10 mil. So not only did your 10x on your asset of choice, in this case stuck, but you also 10x your crow. And that is all provided to you by the time you unpair. That crow is essentially free money that you made just by helping that project. Just by providing that project with a little bit more liquidity, providing strength to the project, and all the trading fees are paid out accordingly. All right, IntoCryptoSpace, this sounds amazing. Double downing, all of a sudden 4xing on a 10x gain. That's crazy. How can it be negative? Well, guys, if you're double downing and let's say it goes down, you are going to get wrecked, right? Because the moment you unpair that liquidity, you're unpairing and then you instantly lose that extra investment, not only on stuck at that present time, stuck, the asset of your choice, but the time that you unpair and that crow balance is actually negative from when you got in. That is what we call impermanent loss, right? Because at that present time, you are basically confirming a sell of crow at a negative rate. You will lose money. Stuck, in this case, let's say you sold and it went down and you had stuck on you. It's not like an instant loss, right? Because the next day stuck can go up, right? Stuck can go up and you made more money back and you're back into profitability. The thing is, when you unpair at a negative, you instantly lose that crow. It will never come back. So I advise, first, make sure you do this only for projects you're convicted in, because essentially it's a double down. Second, you want to try to get in at the best position you think you can manage to get to, because that's going to dictate your gains of essentially free money. If you can't do either of these, I suggest you do not provide liquidity for any project, because you think it's hard emotionally standing a 10, a 20, a 30% drop on a asset. Imagine if you had it paired, you're double downing, and then you're potentially going into a scenario where you instantly lose an asset, Cronos, for example, by selling and never getting it back. I would like to add that if it goes down in the negative, right, it doesn't become true. The impermanent loss isn't there up until you unpair it. So let's say it crashes, right? But you still have balls of steel. IntoCryptoSpace, do you lose your asset? Do I lose my crow? Rest assured that you are safe and sound up until you unpair. So this means that if it crashes and you think it's going to go up, and it does go up the next day, hours later, next week, at 10x's, you're still making that money, baby. Pause the video now to see a quick little breakdown of how it works. From this standpoint, whenever you did care to do so, and if you did already, you go to V2, you click on the pair made by you, and then you simply click remove. In this case, you can control, let's say I've hit a high, right, an all-time high, and I want to sell half of it and see if I can get that half back in at a better position, because naturally people sell things off, right? So that's covering your basis, where you can still make a play even though you're not necessarily selling the asset or really dropping your position in this LP pool, and you still have a bag just in case it continues to skyrocket, so you can benefit on both ends. But on the case of just wanting to unpair, you go here, you can scroll, you can click 25, 50, 70, whatever works for you. And when you remove pair, you're going to get all your additional fees gathered in the form of Crow. And this is where truly have seen significant financial gains to my portfolio. As always, guys, thanks for stopping by, giving the video a view, supporting the channel. And I hope you guys have learned something in terms of setting up a liquidity pair on the Cronos chain. Respective to the DEX, this is VVS, but remember that all other DEXs are going to be rather similar. Just make sure you always stick with the standard and nothing too crazy with the high-end stuff up until you feel experienced enough. So again, guys, IntoCryptoSpace, until next time.